Welcome back to the Tip of the Ice-Burgh podcast, brought to you as always by InsideThePenguins.com. I'm Nick Berlansky, that's Nick Horwat, and the Pittsburgh Penguins went out and got their guy last night at 8:15. Penguins Twitter blew up with the news that the Penguins have acquired Mikael Granlund of the Nashville Predators in exchange for a 2023 second-round pick. It's going to cost the Penguins $5 million, not only this season salary cap space, but for the next 2 seasons for a 31-year-old that plays both the center and the right wing. Horwat, what are your initial reactions before we dive deeper into this on Mikael Granlund to the Penguins?
At first, my first genuine thought was it's better than JT Miller, mostly because of the contract.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
But then I let Twitter talk me into hating it.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, I believe. The metrics don't look good. The numbers are what they are. The one thing we have to be careful of here is running into blaming the player for anything that's happening here.
I agree.
We cannot badmouth Mikael Granlund. He's doing what he can. He's a former 20 goal scorer 2 times, actually. He's, if you would have told me a couple years ago, we traded for Mikael Granlund, come on down.
Back in 2018-19, when he was on the trade block in Minnesota, as he was playing on a line with Jason Zucker, I wanted Mikael Granlund. I was like, you know what? Mikael Granlund would be a great addition for the Pittsburgh Penguins in 2018-19. Obviously, his numbers have dipped since then, not to mention he's 4 or 5 years older. He's now 31 years old, and he's starting to slow down physically as well.
That'll happen. That'll happen. He's a hell of a puck mover, it seems he's turned into. He used to be a good goal scorer. Now he's turned into a phenomenal playmaker, which is a start for the bottom 6, right? It's something. It is a little bit of offense to kind of give certain guys a push. I mean, he literally last year he had 64 points, 53 of them being assists. Hey, you know what? That's not bad. Like I said,
and this year he has more points than any Penguins bottom 6 player already.
Exactly. So it's already an improvement on the ice. Then you get into the books.
Yeah.
Then you get into the books. I'm excited. I'm kind of excited to see what Mikael Granlund can do on the ice, but I'm not excited to see what this contract does for the Penguins for this year, next year, and the year after. Yeah. $5 million, because now he's making Ricard Raquel money. He's making Brian Rust money. Making $500,000 under Jason Zucker money. I mean, Jacob Puntori just put a great piece out on Inside the Penguins about how the core deserve better from Ron Hextall. And he had a line in there that made me think, what does this do with Jason Zucker's future here?
Yeah. Does
it all but shove him out the door? Is Zucker going to be okay with making about the same amount of money? Because guess what? We can't increase. We cannot increase. I think with the way the metrics look on Granlund this year, with the pieces that could have been acquired instead, this is not a good look. You got all that cap space, all of it, $6 million, the most this team has seen in a long time. Most this team has seen mid-season in a long time. We've seen it in the offseason, but everyone has in the offseason.
Yeah, whenever 10 contracts drop off your roster, that happens.
Yeah, this is probably the most in-season money the Penguins have had since maybe 2012, during right before that draft. I don't know what the contracts looked like then. Then you went and set it immediately on fire with, again, I'm not blaming the player, but with a contract that doesn't look great.
It literally took less than 2 hours for Ron to spend that cap money in a not so great way. And here's the thing. Nothing against Mikael Granlund.
Nope.
I'm excited to see what he's able to do too. I mean, it's a change of scenery for the guy. You notice that his offensive production went down and dipped when he went to Nashville, which historically has been considered a defense-first team. They've always built from the back end out. So maybe coming to the Penguins, a team that values the offensive side of the puck a little bit more than Nashville historically, maybe he turns it around. Maybe he becomes an offensive force once again at the age of 31. That's great. This is not the blonde depth forward that I wanted to see the Penguins get this week. I wanted them to bring up Nylander, who scored Wednesday for Wilkes-Barre. That's the blonde depth forward I wanted. because he is much cheaper than $5 million of Mikael Granlund. He's also much younger than $5 million of Mikael Granlund. So again, nothing against the player. There's several pros, and I already mentioned some of them. Change of scenery might be a great help. New blood in the bottom six was much needed regardless of who it is. He has some of that foot speed left. I've seen a lot of people say that he's slow, he's old. I get that he's not as fast as he used to be, but by no means is he slow. If he's playing next to Jeff Carter, it's going to seem like he's much faster. Now, he's not a burner. He's not Kasperi Kapanen, and he's not a burner, but he does have some foot speed. He does have pace to his game. So let's not go out there and bury the guy before he even steps foot on the ice in a Penguins uniform. I think there are pros to this. But the cons, like you said, are all really, really bad cons. He doesn't play defense. So you're basically getting Danton Heinen part 2.
Mm-hmm.
He also has a $5 million contract. And the biggest thing for me is it's $5 million for the next 2 seasons for a guy that is over the age of 31 already. And he has been steadily declining over the past 3 seasons. The player is not worth that money. The fact that you couldn't get Nashville to retain any of that salary is horrendous. And we'll get to Ron Hextall more later in the show. But the fact that, yes, it's a second-round pick for one asset, and at the end of the day, it's not a bad return that you're giving up. You completely took yourself off the board for so much else that you could have done here in the next 30 hours.
The Penguins had a list of boxes that needed to be checked this trade deadline, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did. They needed, and that list grew and shrunk as the year went on. The one consistent for sure was getting some bottom 6 help. The other boxes, included backup goalie, top line defenseman, maybe another scoring winger for the top 6 to kind of funnel down people into the bottom. He checked one of those boxes, and that was bottom 6 help. But he kind of half checked it because it's an aging 31-year-old Mikael Granlund who makes a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And then you just buried the rest of the chances of anything. It's far less than ideal. I think we got ourselves hyped up over, hey, we're involved in Jacob Chikrin because Mike Sullivan wants him too. All right. Then you see the return. Goes to Ottawa, who, by the way, is a scary team now.
They've been a scary team. They just need to put it together.
Yeah. And maybe find a top-notch goalie. Yeah.
Should have kept Gustafsson, but maybe. I digress.
Yeah. But then you see the return. Mike Sullivan cannot be happy about that, by the way.
No. He can't. And I have a theory about Sullivan. Stick around to the last segment for me to hear what I have on that. But the cap hit, it's not as much this season. Because whatever you can make to fix this season is whatever you can make to fix this season. But like I said, 2 more years, that handcuffs what you can do this offseason now too. Like you mentioned, Jacob wrote about it. Where does that leave Jason Zucker, who has been very good for this Pittsburgh Penguins team this season? Where does that leave Tristan Jarry, who's going to need an extension this summer?
Talked about that with Rob yesterday.
Exactly. Where does that leave the defense, which is going to need restructured this summer? What do you do on the left side? They don't have a number 1 defenseman on the left side. You lost out on Chikrin. There's no way you're going to get one this season, so you have to address that in the offseason, and it's not going to be cheap. You handcuffed yourself for this offseason and the next on a contract that nobody else is going to be stupid to take unless you give them your first-round pick, and Ron Hextall has said he doesn't want to do that. Now, will the next general manager that comes in want to do that? Maybe, but again, that is an asset that is being lost to get rid of another negative asset. I believe the market value on Dom Lucian and Shayna Goldman's player cards for the Athletic is $1.5 million. The man makes $5 million.
Oh.
It's another negative asset contract on the Pittsburgh Penguins books. And I hate to do this because we've been talking for 10 minutes, and it feels like 90% of it is us bashing on the player, but really it's just bashing on the situation.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I want to make sure that we started it with this. I want to make sure we end it with this. I'm excited to see what Mikael Granlund can do on the ice.
Yep.
I don't want him to feel like everybody's against him because it seems like everybody is. But the main thing to look at is what was trending yesterday. Was it, oh my God, screw Granlund? No, it's fire Hextall for a reason, because that is a horrid contract and a horrid situation. And now Granlund has to go out there and try to make the best of it. I hope it doesn't affect his play on the ice because he's already going to be fighting an uphill battle coming onto a team that needs the world from him because he's not getting any other help.